Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Facebook Live with the one and only Mary Shomon. I'm Dana Bowman, co-founder of Thyroid Refresh.
And I'm Ginny Mahar, the other co-founder of Thyroid Refresh, and we're so thrilled, as always, to be here with Mary Shomon today. Just a quick introduction in case there's anyone out there who doesn't know Mary. She is one of the world's leading thyroid health advocates and coaches. She's the New York Times best-selling author of over a dozen books on thyroid health, and she also happens to sit at the head of our Thyroid Refresh Advisory Board. So those of you who have been part of this community for a while are probably well familiar with Mary and know how amazing she is and what a wealth of information. So we're so thrilled to be here with you today, Mary. Thank you.
Thanks, Ginny and Dana. It's always fun to be with you guys and with our community of really interested and empowered thyroid patients. So I'm excited that we're able to do this today, and let's jump in.
Before we do, I want to say, it wasn't very long ago we were all three together, the very beginning of March. Wow, doing a Facebook Live on Corona, and how far have we come?
Oh my gosh.
It's just been such a roller coaster. And I just feel so kind of connected and glad to have this community and to have you guys, because it feels like, oh, this is familiar. This is family. This is good. This is something I can count on. So we hope you guys feel the same way too. It's definitely been a bumpy ride.
Yeah. Well, this is an awesome community of thyroid thrivers too. And, it's really so important now more than ever to really optimize our health and to stay feeling well. So we're really looking forward to diving into our interview with Mary about why do I not feel well even though I'm still on medication? And also, before we dive into that, we have a really exciting announcement. Woo! We have a brand new collaborative program that we just launched today, right now. This is it, here and now. It's called the Thyroid 30 Tune-Up. And we partnered with Mary to create this incredible program that's going to walk you guys through everything you need to know as a thyroid patient in order to optimize how you feel, reduce symptoms, optimize your treatment, and stay well, stay healthy, get back to living life, get out from under the burden of the residual symptoms that way too many of us are living with. So we're so thrilled to be launching that today. We would love for you guys to check it out. It's called the Thyroid 30 Tune-Up once again, and you can find that at thyroidrefresh.com/tune-up, and we'll pop that into the comments here for you as soon as we can. So yeah, go check it out. We've got a special 30% launch discount on that for a limited time. So head on over to the sales page when we're done here and check out this course that is, I think it's really a quintessential course that every thyroid patient needs.
Well, and it's easy. It's really easy. That's the thing. So many people are, when they are involved with thyroid issues, they start talking to their doctor, they start talking to other people, and there's terminology. Did you get your free T4? Do you have your reverse T3? What's your, have you tested for the deiodinase? Are you taking triiodothyronine or liothyronine or da-da-da? And people go, oh my gosh, I need to go to med school to understand how to get something as basic as a thyroid problem sorted out. And so that's why we've created this program, because the goal is to walk you through short and simple, the key steps to do everything possible to tune up your thyroid. Because if your thyroid's not optimal, if you're not handling the key issues involved with your thyroid, you're not going to feel well. I don't care who your doctor is. I don't care what medicine you're taking. If you don't have numbers sorted, symptoms sorted, and getting things on track and tuned up, it's just like a car. You're not going to go drive around your car without an oil change and a tune-up because it's going to chug along at half speed. Well, if you're chugging along at half speed, that's why we created this program. It's to help get everything back on track and running smoothly.
Well, and it's such an overwhelming prospect. Dana and I have been on this healing journey. We've walked this path, and it took us years. And I just, was putting this together and thinking, if only I would have had this, it could have saved me years of time and confusion and overwhelm, because you put it together in such an accessible and digestible and simple way, where in just a few hours time, people can be so much more empowered as patients than they started with. And it's not just for beginners. I mean, Dana and I are, we're immersed in this world of thyroid health and thyroid health experts. We're interviewing them all the time. We're constantly reading and researching. I learned a ton from the Thyroid 32 Knot, Mary. I mean, there was a lot in there that I wasn't really clear on, that you just laid out in, your trademark Mary style that's so to the point, no baloney, entertaining, interesting, concise. Let's just get you guys the information that you need, and none of the fluff, So it's really an incredible program that we're honored to have.
Some of the people that are out there, it's really wonderful to have you joining us. Barbara, we have some people from Florida. We have Cheryl O'Brien. We have Pat. Thank you guys for joining us. I also want to jump in really quick before you go on, Mary, and say, let's be honest. There are books, and they are great. And you have written fabulous books. Today, in this world and where we're at, it's nice to have something a little bit more engaging, to give you something that you can feel like you can go back to, look at. Someone's kind of laying it out for you. It's kind of like Mary's reading her book to you. It's like really, it feels like, okay, I can do this. You feel like you've got a cheerleader or someone on your side. Of course, reading all the books, Jenny and I, pretty much everybody has done that. And you need to do that to be an informed patient. But this takes it one step up, don't you think? Or maybe two.
And not everybody has a time to read a whole book, or are interested in wading through, again, I'm a reader, so I love to read, but I've also lately, I don't always have the time to read everything. I mean, I'm working at home, I'm trying to figure everything out going on with everything. And so sometimes I'll go to a video to find out what I need to learn, and it's fast, it's easy. And, let's face it, I don't know about you guys, but I'm running out of things to watch on Netflix and Hulu and everything else. So I'm starting to watch documentaries and educational programs and learning things. So this is an amazing opportunity for people to learn and watch video. They can stream it on their phone. They can stream it on their laptop. It's so easy to do. And you're making your life and your health better. So, but let's jump into some of the tips, about what kinds of things we can be doing to feel well and live well when we're hypothyroid. Because I know we've got a lot of folks that are listening. And Nell Chapman, thank you so much. I'm so glad to have been helpful to you over the years. Okay, Lynette wants to have somebody explain things that the doctor doesn't think impacts you. Well, that's what the whole program is doing, and that's what we're here to do today. So let's hit some questions.
Yeah. Well, I think the question that really drew people here today was, why do I still not feel well, even in spite of being on medication? My doctor says I should be fine. My TSH is normal. I'm on levothyroxine, and it's supposed to be easy to treat, right? Why do I still feel poorly?
Yeah. And that's the fundamental question that I've been struggling to answer for people and for myself at the start for more than 20 years. And that's the answer. That's the fundamental question that you folks are trying to help people with when we're talking about the Thyroid 30 program and Thyroid Refresh website. We're trying to empower people with the information they need, because thyroid disease is not just take this pill, you'll be fine. Your thyroid is normal. Come back in a year. You shouldn't have symptoms. Or if you do have symptoms, you're stressed, depressed, PMS, or menopausal. Well, that's not enough. I want to feel well. I want to have energy. I don't want to be exhausted and brain fogged and wandering around in confusion and with my hair falling out and gaining weight and feeling terrible. And so when we're talking about the things that are not working, what we're looking at are multiple factors. And One of them is the test numbers. I mean, everybody who knows me knows that my rallying cry for 20 years has been, we are not we are not lab values, we're patients. We're patients, not lab values. I'm not a test result. I am a human being with individual feelings and thoughts and ideas and response to different things. So as a patient and not a lab value, I do need to incorporate those lab values, but it's not the only deal in town. So, but if you don't understand the lab values, if you're not getting the right tests, if you're not sure how to interpret the test. So we want TSH, we want free T4, we want free T3, and we want them to be optimal, meaning a TSH typically less than 1.5 or 2. An optimal free T4 and free T3 is going to be in the upper half of the reference range. We want to look at those antibody tests, the TPO, the thyroglobulin, thyroid peroxidase TPO, TGAB, thyroglobulin antibodies. Are they elevated? This is significant because it tells us we have autoimmunity and inflammation going on. There's the reverse T3. This is the inactive, useless form of T3 that we often see in people that have a lot of chronic physical or emotional stress. And it gets in the way of the thyroid hormone actually getting to the cells to deliver oxygen and energy. So a normal TSH level it means nothing. There are a bunch of patients out there who've always said normal is just a setting on your dryer. It's not related to our thyroid. So normal doesn't mean anything. What we really want is optimal. But we need to know what tests, what are the ranges, and what's optimal in those ranges. And then we need to know, how do you get to optimal?
I think the next question on the tip of a lot of people's tongues is, well, how come I didn't hear about all this from my doctor?
Well, and really quick caveat, we love all the doctors. We love all the naturopaths. We love everybody, but there's just not enough time in a day or in their appointment schedule. They weren't trained to have time to sit down and answer all of this. It's not like some people get confused, or most people, because we've been trained. You have a headache, you take a pill. You have thyroid issues, that's just like the very last blip that's, goes off after all these other things have kind of tried to show you along the way. Hey, look, your sleep's not good, your blood sugar's not good. And finally we start listening when the thyroid gets there, when we finally get to that thyroid. So,
exactly.
There's more to it. There just is. So it's not this, quick fix. It just isn't.
Right. And I mean, again, like you said, most doctors really do want us to feel well. They want us to solve our thyroid problem. But, all the studies have shown that the average doctor has about 7 minutes to work with us. Doctor doesn't have time to explain to you what optimal free T3 is.
No.
Excuse me, I'm a little dry today. The doctor doesn't have time to go through all the different thyroid medications and the options and how they work for you, good or bad. They just don't have the time to do that. They would love to, I'm sure, some of them, maybe some of them wouldn't. But the bottom line is it becomes our job to have to figure out what is going on with the thyroid. We have to know. And we can't count on the doctor to have the time to do it.
One question I've seen come in a couple times now, Mary, is about gut health and that gut thyroid relationship. Can you touch on that a little bit for us?
Absolutely. We talk about that in the Thyroid 30 tune-up program, but we know that the immune system is really, really dependent on the gut, because the gut makes up about 70 to 80% of our immune system. So if we're not dealing with imbalances in our gut bacteria, acid imbalances, overgrowth of yeast and other kinds of bacteria, we are sabotaging our thyroid recovery. So it's so crucial and important for us to get an understanding of how we're eating, the supplements that we're taking, and what we're doing for our gut balance or dysbiosis, the imbalance, in order to get that thyroid under control. So it's an important part of it, especially if we have Hashimoto's.
Mm-hmm. And even lifestyle factors can come into play with gut health. It's not just as simple as taking probiotics and, although that's can be very helpful, but there's a lot more to it. Your sleep, everything that goes in your mouth, your lifestyle, your stress levels, all that stuff. And so it's this whole big web and this whole big picture. And so you go into detail on all of this in the Thyroid 30.
And you make some really great recommendations, which is always helpful because people are like, okay, so just a suggestion. Well, give me some recommendations. And Mary does go into that for you. So that's pretty wonderful as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole idea of the Thyroid 30 tune-up is to not only inform you with the information and provide you with the details, but then to give you the action plan, to give you the next steps. So that if you identify that you have high reverse T3, well, what do? What do you do next? It's not enough to just know. You got to know what reverse T3 is. You got to know to get it tested. You have to know what the test results mean and what's optimal or not optimal. But then you have to know, if I'm not optimal, how do I become optimal? And that's really what we're doing with this program. And we're doing it for all the different tests. I think Lynette just said a couple minutes ago, I never heard of some of these tests. And that's not unusual. And don't beat yourself up, Lynette, because you're not alone. A lot of patients have no idea because, again, the doctors are, very conventional doctors. They rely only on the TSH test. That's the only test they do. And a lot of them will never do another thyroid test for you unless you're asking or demanding or, being a pushy patient. And so you may not have ever heard those terms. You may never have heard about those tests. And that's not unusual, but we're here to say it's not enough. You need to hear about them. And we're going to tell you how to find out about them, what to do with them, and what to do with those results.
And you lay it out so nicely. Here they are. This is what they are. This is what they mean. This is what they do. Here are some numbers. You make it very simple for everybody. And, even if, let's say you do have more than one test on your, panel that you get back. Well, then that's it. So the doctor ran 4 or 5 tests, and then you're still like, okay, now what? Mary takes you one step further. She helps you understand what those mean and where they need to be and how to get optimal.
And how all those pieces fit together too. I think even a highly informed patient, it can be difficult to see how all those pieces fit together. And it really, we can't cover that in a 30-minute Facebook Live. You can't write it in one sentence. You can't put it in a bottle of pills. It really, there's some complexity to it, but you were able to put that into this really cohesive and concise package for people that puts all those pieces together. I know I learned a ton about things like reverse T3 or a lot of different treatments for antibodies and all the different factors that will affect your antibodies. They can also affect your gut health. They can also affect your weight loss, your hair. See, so all those things sort of like there's this ripple effect in this web, right, of connection. Hormones, adrenals, sex hormones. How does all of that come into play? I know one of the hottest topics and biggest frustrations among this community is weight loss. And I think it was Karen who just said, no matter what I eat, I cannot lose weight. What's the deal?
Right. And that's what, what we go through with the with the Thyroid 30 program is all of the key factors to make sure that your thyroid itself is not the factor that's getting in the way of weight loss. There's a lot, let's face it, there's a lot of different things that can affect our ability to lose weight. Thyroid is one of them. Whether it's also nutrition and diet, calories in.
Poor Mary, it makes me want to drink water.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten one of those tickles in your throat that just won't stop?
Much more now that I'm a thyroid patient. Anybody who's listened to our podcast has heard me clearing my throat.
I am so sorry because I think it's the pollen. The spring pollen is going crazy, and I'm allergic to tree pollen, and so it's just going crazy with me. And I keep losing my voice and getting that tickle.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, the pine pollen, you can see it now just blowing in those big big yellow clouds off the pine trees.
Well,
right?
and I'm gonna make a point here for those of you who are taking Synthroid. One of the reasons Synthroid did not work for me is that Synthroid has acacia, and acacia is made from the bark of trees. So if you have a seasonal allergy, as I do, obviously, since I'm coughing through this entire Facebook Live, and you're allergic to trees, which is one of my highest allergies, the acacia in Synthroid can trigger pollen allergies and tree allergies, and grass allergies in people that have seasonal sensitivities. So,
this is why we have you, Mary. I never knew that.
Yeah. And so some people will take Synthroid and they're like, it doesn't work. I feel bloated. My stomach hurts. My eyes get weird, itchy, my skin. I mean, they'll have any kind of possible symptom of allergy, not as much the coughing and sneezing like we have with season, but more skin and systemic and things like that, bloating. And people don't realize that the acacia in the Synthroid could be the problem. It's one of the excipients that's in the Synthroid. Wow. And we talk about that in our program.
Okay, so kind of along the same lines, Cheryl says, I've found that taking NDT, natural desiccated thyroid, has affected my calcium levels. Is that something that you've heard about in the thyroid world?
Not really, no. And actually what I would probably want Cheryl to do is to have a look at whether or not something's going on with her parathyroid too, because parathyroid affects calcium levels. And, we would need more information about the background on the situation and stuff, but calcium levels can get thrown off when the parathyroid is out of whack, and the parathyroid is attached to the thyroid gland. So we sometimes see calcium abnormalities, especially if somebody's had a surgery to the thyroid that maybe nicked or damaged the parathyroid in some way. So I would want to look more at that. I don't know that that's something that we can answer right here online, but it's something that should be discussed with the doctor to find out what's going on with the calcium.
And Angie has a good quick question. She says NP thyroid versus Armor, major pros and cons. And my quick response to that, I'll let Mary go into further detail, but my quick response is everybody's so different, and you really just have to try some different things and find a doctor that's willing to kind of go on that journey with you, because and it can change over time.
Exactly.
So just because, Nature Throid happens to be what works for me right now, maybe it won't in a year, and it wasn't so 2 years ago. So you have to kind of keep always evaluating, and Mary does go into some good detail about that in the tune-up, but I'll let you jump in and discuss that a little further.
Well, I guess what I would say is, NP thyroid, Armor thyroid, and the Nature Throid and Thyroid WP, they're all natural desiccated thyroid. So they're all in the same category of drugs. And so theoretically, they should all be equivalent, but they all have different excipients. Those are the ingredients that go into the tablets, and they use some different dyes. And so the way that you're going to absorb something is affected by the excipients. So taking one version of the same size dosage, you may absorb it fine. Taking another version, you won't. It's the same thing with levothyroxine. When we see that some of the levothyroxines have the acacia, they have iodine, they have gluten, others don't. So it really depends on what you relate to, what you react to, and some of that is trial and error. You've got to actually try and see how you do on some. But of course, if you look at the excipients list and you see something like the acacia or iodine or gluten or particular substances that red dye number 4 or whatever, that I got to stay away from this particular one. So, but it is trial and error. It's a trial and error process in many cases once we've excluded anything we know is an automatic problem. And,
one of the things I hear often is that someone will try NDT thyroid and 2 weeks, a month, I can't remember, exactly the average, but someone will feel really great and then they don't. So it's not just this trial and error for a month either. I mean, this really is just part of the journey from now on. And you don't have to make it like it's this big, awful, terrible thing. You take your thing, you do it every day for a month or two or whatever your doctor says. And then you take a few notes and you make some, adjustments, and then you go on. It doesn't have to be this terrible, oh gosh, now I've got to change again. You just kind of roll with it. Because that's really what you got to do.
You're raising an issue that we talk about in the Thyroid 30 tune-up too, which is the adrenals, because that's also a very the scenario you just described of somebody starting on thyroid or changing meds or changing doses and feeling really good for a couple of weeks and then not feeling well is a classic sign of an underlying adrenal imbalance or an adrenal insufficiency. Exactly. We've all been there, or in most cases, many of us have been there. And so that's another factor that we talk about in the Thyroid 30 tune-up. But, if you are tired, if you have chronic infections, chronic viral issues like Epstein-Barr titers or HHV, Coxsackie virus, herpes, HPV, all of these viruses that so many people are walking around carrying, even if they're not activated. If you have gingivitis, if you have arthritis, inflammatory situations in the body, or chronic inflammation, infection, and irritation, you are putting incredible strain on your adrenals. And this constant pull on the adrenals pulls on your thyroid too, because, we've got thyroid, we've got sex hormones, and we've got the adrenal and stress hormones. And these three hormonal legs of the stool, essentially, they need to be balanced for our stool to be balanced. If it's not balanced, this is Dr. Richard Shamus's premise from some of his books from a number of years ago. But, the three legs of the stool have to be even. If they're not all even, your stool's going to fall over. And so we need to look at the adrenals. We need to look at sex hormones in general, and we need to look at the thyroid, because they're all interrelated and interdependent. And one being deficient is going to pull the whole system out of balance. So that's another factor that we're looking at in the Thyroid 30 tune-up.
And Tammy, hi, I'm glad you're with us. She says, I cannot get a doctor to test my adrenals. I know you touch base on the adrenals. I mean, you could make this a, 10-hour course as opposed to that. And, as opposed to what we have right now, and a little bit more simplified. But one of the things that I know you touch on is adrenals. And I think you can get your adrenals tested alone, from separate private labs. You don't really have to have a doctor. Now, someone reading it to you, that would be different. Yeah. But we have Mary Shomon here who can help you with that. So
we have links in the guide that goes along with our Thyroid 30 tune-up for self-testing. You can get a variety of tests, including blood tests. You can get saliva tests, and you can order the Dutch test, which is a dried urine test. And the guide for our Thyroid 30 tune-up has information on how to get those tests, but these are all direct-to-consumer tests, meaning that in most states in the country, you can order them without a doctor's prescription at very low price, wholesale. You're not paying doctor markups or big markups. It's very inexpensive to get them done. In some cases, at least the saliva test, the Dutch test even is a great deal as well, because that's covering your adrenals and your sex hormones. But the bottom line is you can take it under your own power. You can be empowered to go ahead and get those tests done. And there's only a few states that don't allow it. But so we have links, and there's even a page, I believe, at Thyroid Refresh for True Health, where you can access the tests to order some of these tests on your own. And these days, the blood spot tests that you can do at home, the saliva tests that you can do at home, these are even more exciting because we don't have to go to a lab and put on the mask and go through the whole rigmarole with the COVID. But
nice, yeah.
You can get them yourself. And unless you're in like New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maryland, 4 or 5 states, you can order them yourself, and they're not expensive.
I think we've got time for just a couple more questions. I see one from Insha. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I think this is a really good question, one that we hear from time to time. Can you stop taking thyroid medication once you've managed your thyroid levels through diet and lifestyle?
Depends on what your underlying thyroid problem was. If your underlying thyroid problem was that you had a mild iodine deficiency and you were only slightly hypothyroid, but you're not autoimmune, Hashimoto's, and your TSH levels and your free T4 and free T3 were just slightly out of balance, and you get your diet back into balance and add more iodine-rich foods and maybe a supplement, it's possible that the changes that you made to your lifestyle and your diet are enough. But that's not the reality for the majority of people. If your thyroid has been damaged by long-term Hashimoto's, if you have no thyroid or part of it is missing due to surgery, if you've had radioactive iodine for Graves' disease resulting in your hypothyroidism, you're on thyroid medicine for life. But the key here is, do you feel well? And are you living well with that thyroid medicine for life? Because all you're doing is replacing something the body is missing. So that's not like you're taking a weird medication or doing something to yourself. You're just replacing something your body needs to survive. But the question that we're dealing with and that we're working on with the Thyroid 30 tune-up is, okay, so I'm taking the medicine, but I still don't feel well. So that's the goal. Right. Is let's then look at all of those steps that we need to take to get to that point where we really do feel well. I saw somebody asked about how to get the Thyroid 30 tune-up, and I think we ought to maybe mention that. I know we've got some links coming up, but maybe you guys want to tell people where they can access the Thyroid 30 tune-up, because I'm so excited that we teamed up to make this available to the Thyroid Refresh and Thyroid 30 community.
You can definitely find it. I put it on the screen there. Thank you, Mary, at thyroidrefresh.com/tuneup. I put it on the screen there as well, and it's also in the links, but definitely at thyroidrefresh.com.
Great.
Yeah, you click on the More menu and you'll see I put it right at the top of the list, the Thyroid 30 tune-up. We'll be emailing our mailing list about this. So if you're not on our mailing list, make sure you get on there so you can stay in the loop about this. And we've got some other pretty exciting secret things in the works with Mary, more to come. And yeah, so you'll be seeing, updates about that through our emails and also through our social media. But and yeah.
Aren't there some bonuses that you guys threw in too for people who are signing up?
We did. We threw in a few pretty awesome bonuses. We've got a lifestyle guide. We've got, what was the other one? I think a grocery guide, a thyroid-friendly grocery guide. And then we also threw in a free pass to our Thyroid 30-day wellness adventure. So this is like a great preamble to participating in one of our 30-day wellness adventures where you can apply everything you've learned in the Thyroid 30 tune-up. So it's kind of the perfect follow-up to going through this incredible course and getting armed with all that information, and then having this platform with support and tons of resources and the recipes and the trackers and all the things that you need to actually put the information you've learned into practice.
So are you saying that instead of laying around and watching, Tiger King on Netflix for the next 2 weeks, somebody could actually spend a couple of hours with the Thyroid tune-up, Thyroid 30 tune-up, and get all of the information they need, be totally clear on what they need to do, and then jump into the Thyroid 30 game, the next round of the game, and put it all into action and apply it. And in a couple of weeks after that, 30 days, they are going to be feeling better, smarter, more empowered, and have their thyroid much closer to being tuned up and under control.
Yeah. You sound like you know what we're talking about.
And why not like you said, take advantage of this time? I mean, I know we're all enjoying our shows and everything, but why not learn something new? Why not empower yourself as a patient and do so in a way that really is foundational to your health and how you feel every day? I mean, staying healthy, getting healthy and staying healthy is more important than ever. We really need to get our bodies in the best working order they can be.
Well, and I think there's something really important that I want to add here too, is I've talked with a number of different doctors, rheumatologists, endocrinologists, experts on the immune system, integrative doctors, and every one of them I've asked the same question. Does COVID put us at more are we at more risk of COVID because we have a thyroid problem or a Hashimoto's problem, or a formerly Graves patient, et cetera? Where do we sit in that risk profile? And every doctor that I've talked to has said, look, we don't have all the answers right now about it, because we're not quite sure. But what we do know is that any imbalance in your body is going to make it harder for you to recover, and it's going to make it probably easier for you to catch anything, not just COVID. And so people are saying, oh, I'm going to stop taking this, or I shouldn't take that, or I shouldn't do, and whatever disease, whatever autoimmune condition, the doctors that I've talked with have all said, look, the best thing you can do is take optimal care of whatever health conditions that you have. So if you're a diabetic, you want to control your blood sugar. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, you want to keep your inflammation down. And if you have Hashimoto's and thyroid issues, you want those antibodies down. You want your thyroid under control. It's no point having antibodies that are in the thousands and a TSH level of 12 going around, because we know even pre-pandemic, if your thyroid is out of whack, your TSH is high, your antibodies are high, your kid comes home with a sniffle and you're in bed for a week with it. So
regardless of what the doctors say, right? Regardless of what the doctors say or what they specifically know, you know your body. I mean, if your immune system is compromised, you have autoimmune disease, you don't really even need to ask anybody. You already kind of intuitively know the answer to that. And that is, my immune system is not operating in a really perfect mode. And so I need to be careful.
Right.
I all the time. Yeah. Before I optimized my medication and figured out the diet and the lifestyle and the supplements and the whole ball of yarn. And, again, reflecting on my own story, I just think, wow, if I would have had this, I could have gotten from point A to point B so much faster.
Yeah. And again, as things gradually open up, and, some people, our kids are going to be going back to school in some cases in the fall. We're going to have to start, getting back out into the world to some degree, depending on where we are and what's going on. People are like, well, what can I do to protect myself? I'm going to take these 22 supplements and this and that and do, great. Whatever you're doing, those are good things. But if you have a thyroid condition and you're not taking care of it and it's not optimal, that's like ground zero. That's foundational. If you're not doing that, just like getting sleep, getting hydrated, all of the things that we talk about in the Thyroid 30, the key R's that we need to follow, rest and relaxation and hydration and all of the different things that we need to do. But if we're not getting the thyroid sorted out and optimally treated and balanced, all of these supplements we're doing to protect ourselves from the coronavirus are not going to be able to land as effectively. So I guess my point is, it's something we can actually do for ourselves to protect ourselves and strengthen our immune system, strengthen our health, even if you don't have an autoimmune disease. Because even if you're not autoimmune hypothyroid, let's say you just had thyroid cancer, your thyroid was taken out, you're hypothyroid now, but you don't have an autoimmune issue, you're still dealing with hypothyroidism, and the thyroid helps to drive the body's immune response. And if it's not gassed up and ready to go, it's not going to be able to fight off as effectively when it comes into contact with viruses, infections, anything, including the COVID. So it's not a cure, but it is, it makes perfect common sense. If I'm stronger and healthier, I'm going to have a better outcome.
Well, as you say in the tune-up, the thyroid is the body's metabolic engine. So let's get our engines revving. Let's get back on the road. Let's get tuned up so we're ready to go and get back to living our lives and feeling well and staying healthy. So we're so grateful to you, Mary, for putting this amazing program together for our community. It really, I feel, has, in a way, kind of completed our offerings, which will, they'll always be expanding, right? But we really try to empower people in thyroid healthy diet and lifestyle. And we have, the resources, we've got the articles and the recipes, and we've got Thyroid 30. And this was such a missing link for those people who were like, just, I need more answers about what to do. Tell me, this is so confusing. Can somebody please just explain the whole shablamo to me? And
so let's tell everybody
what they
get. Let's tell everybody what they get with the Thyroid 30 tune-up.
Sure. With the Thyroid 30 tune-up, you're going to get 3 videos on demand. And these are videos you can stream on your laptop, you can stream them on your desktop, you can stream them on your phone. And they're not super long. It's about, I think, around an hour each video. So the total program is about 3 hours. And each of the videos focuses on the number of the key points in your tune-up, because it's a 10-point tune-up, basically. It's got 10 different steps for you to follow through. And the videos, I mean, we worked on this to make them fun, to make them easy to understand, with lots of graphics and some animation and things, so that it's not just like going to endocrinology class. It's much easier to understand and much more straightforward. And then you also are going to get a guide, downloadable ebook. I think it's over 100 pages, right? What is it, 130?
135 pages,
right.
I think. And so the best thing about it, Mary, is nobody has to take notes.
Right.
You don't have to remember anything.
Exactly.
You can watch those videos and follow along, boom, 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 with the book, with the guide.
Exactly.
So
and then you can
lay it out for you.
You can always like screenshot it and put it on your phone. You'll have all the charts that are featured in the tune-up are in the guide. So if you see a optimal levels chart, you can have it on your desktop. You can have it on your phone. You can have it. You'll have that PDF ebook that you can download and be able to access and use. So it's a combination of ways to learn, because some people learn by listening, some people learn by watching, and some people learn by reading. So we have it all 3. You can read, you can watch, you can listen. And it's again done in a way that's understandable. We've avoided using a lot of big words. We've tried to explain concepts when they're more complicated, so that the average person like us can understand it. You don't have to be a med student or an endocrinologist to understand what's going on.
And this may be dating me a little bit, but I feel like the ebook is like a Cliff Note version, right? It's like a Cliff Note. It's like
exactly. It is, yeah. And I think they still have Cliff Notes out there. I've seen them referenced, but it really does give you a good grounding. And if you don't want to read a 300, 400 page book or wade through websites that have, 900 different pages of 25 page articles and everything else, this is one PDF file and 3 hours of video that get you completely sorted out and under control. You've got it all in one place, and you can go back to it again and again. And there's no time limit on this. You can go through it as fast as you want or as slow as you want. You can binge it. Maybe it's not as much fun as Tiger King, but I think it is,
I think it's really fun. And Mary did such a great job. It's like metaphor for our getting tuned up. Like there's this car metaphor that goes throughout. Let's get our engines humming again. And so there's all these really cute graphics. You put some amazing infographics in there that break it down. It's like, these are the bullet points you need to know from this section. Or I was just looking at one today that was like, you have this issue, look at these questions. You have this issue, what about these questions? If you're struggling with this is what you need to look at. Yeah. And in like a cute little square infographic. And there's also, as you mentioned, the testing, the supplements, all those things are in there.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud of it. It's so great, Mary. Yeah. I'm so proud of it. It looks so great. You did a great job. And like you said earlier, if you read and you understand by reading or listening or watching, we've got it all.
Right. And one of the cool things to me, too, is that for people who've done Thyroid 30 before, or for those who maybe aren't as familiar with Thyroid 30 and are new to the Thyroid 30 approach to wellness and support and kind of competing and having a team to really feel and live well. We've incorporated a lot of the Thyroid 30 concepts into the Thyroid 30 tune-up so that there's consistency. You'll understand why you're following the different points in the Thyroid 30. When you've done the Thyroid 30 tune-up, it makes sense then even more, especially for people who might be new to thyroid issues or just new to being an empowered thyroid patient. You may have had thyroid forever, but you're just now getting to the point where you're like, you know what? I want to feel well. I'm tired of this, taking my pill and going back every year and being told that I can't do anything about how I feel.
We can always use a tune-up, right?
Exactly.
We always need to hit the refresh button, especially after a long Memorial Day weekend, maybe, right?
Exactly. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned earlier, it was Vicky. Thanks for being here, Vicky. She said, I was doing so well. I know what it feels like to be optimal. And now I'm kind of starting over after my medication was reformulated.
Yeah.
And so it's not just for beginners. It's for anywhere you're at on the path, whether you're newly diagnosed or you're decades down this healing path. We're always at some point in need of a tune-up.
Exactly.
And our bodies, unlike our cars, we don't get to trade them in for a newer model. We got to take good care of these ones, right?
Exactly. The lease is not up yet, folks. We're stuck with this for quite a while. So we've got to do everything we can to take good care of our hormones, our health, our thyroid in particular. Because again, if your engine light is on, and you don't take your car in to have it looked at, you got a problem, And so when you're not feeling well with a thyroid condition, it's basically the engine light is on. And what do? Well, you start with the Thyroid 30 tune-up, and then you do the Thyroid 30 game, and you connect with all of us, and and we help you get the answers to get it sorted out.
That's perfect. If your engine light is on, you need a tune-up.
Yeah, exactly. And I know for a lot of people right now, the stress, the emotional and physical stress of what's been going on and the lockdowns and everything and jobs and economic issues and stuff, this is creating a lot of additional hormonal imbalance, and it's strain on the thyroid, it's strain on the adrenals. So I would not be surprised if a lot of us need a tune-up. Because I know I need one right now, I mean, my thyroid's okay, but I feel like I need to kind of like go back over and look at these points again and sort of just tighten up my bolts on the tires or something, because everything quite as smooth. That's because it's a tough time.
Yeah. Right. That's right.
Well,
That's right.
Also, the prices, we have a really great price going on right now as well, because we want, we wanted to get this out there for everybody. We wanted to make it accessible and affordable, and because that's the name of the game, especially in what we're going through right now. So you got to definitely check it out.
Lynette says she wants to trade her body in.
Where do we sign up?
You need to do some detailing. That's the thing. You got to take it in, give it a great wash, a tune-up, and some detailing, and you will still love it. You won't want to trade it in.
Yeah,
we're gonna go and park and get a detail and just kind of lay there and then just get up and walk away. I want to do that one.
Exactly.
Well, Mary, we think of you as our thyroid chicanic, so we're so lucky to have you. And thank you so much for the program, for being here with us today. Thank you on behalf of this thyroid community for all of your knowledge and wisdom and advocacy that you always so generously share with us. We're so lucky to have you as the head of the Thyroid Refresh Advisory Board, and especially lucky to be able to collaborate on these projects that can help and empower thyroid patients and simplify them getting their lives back.
Well, thank you. And I did want to mention that I know we had a bunch of questions and we didn't get to all of them in the stream. So I'm going to go in later today to this thread on Facebook. And if there's any questions that I can answer or comments that I can make on some of the things that people have said, I'm definitely going to do that. So if your question did not get specifically answered we're not ignoring you. We will come back around and make sure that we give you some further information to help you understand what's going on. So I always, because I know I'm like on chats and I ask questions and I don't get I'm thinking, what's the point? So I always want to make sure people know, even if we don't get to your questions, we will go back around and make sure that we answer them at least in the thread. So we'll make sure we tag you. And so come back and take a look at that, because we'll have some additional resources in that thread.
Thank you, Mary Ann, Deborah, Darlette. What a great name. Angie, Lynette, Devania, Vicky, Barbara, Cheryl, Lisa, Tammy. Thank you, guys. We really, really, we're grateful to have you. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you. And now that we're about to sign off, go check out the tune-up. thyroidrefresh.com/tune-up. It's really, really great.
Start your engines, everybody. It's time to get out on the road. So,
right.
All right.
On the road trip.
See you next time.
Thanks, Mary.
Bye.
Thanks all of you.